Welcome back to the channel. Today's fun because I'm going to talk about probably, if it's not my favorite upper body exercise, it's in the top 3. And that is a single arm dumbbell row. As basic as it gets, I love this exercise because you can build massive amounts of strength with this exercise. And this exercise really is accessible to anyone. So I want to walk you through how I set up doing a single arm dumbbell row and why I prefer to set it up the way I do. So I'm going to walk you through that. I also want to show you common mistakes that I see people make all the time with the dumbbell row. And I want to show you the correct way to get the most out of a single arm dumbbell row. And I also want to show you a couple of cool variations that you can do to make this a little bit more interesting as well. So, ready? Grab a dumbbell and let's get started. Okay, so when I do a single arm dumbbell row, I usually use one of the benches here at the gym to support myself with. So this is how I prefer to set up. I prefer to have both feet on the floor, and I'll talk about that a little more in a second. Both feet on the floor, one hand on the bench supporting me, all right? I like to have a bit of a space right here because this is where the dumbbell is going to hang. If I'm right here, I don't have any space for the dumbbell to actually fall freely. So I get this leg back a little bit. Right arm is gonna hold the dumbbell, right leg is back slightly. You wanna make sure your back is flat. You're not hunched over like this. Your shoulders are set back. That will help keep your back in the proper spot. Now, I see a lot of people do this with a row. Some version of this where they put a knee up here. And that's okay, but I prefer both feet on the floor and one hand supporting you. And the reason for that is, first of all, you're having to support a little bit more weight. Your core has to work harder. We're gonna get a lot more core involvement when we're like this rather than when you're like this, and so much of your weight is being supported by the bench. So if you've done it that way, that's fine, but I encourage you to at least try this way. So again, I have a bit of a gap between the two legs. Arm is on the bench, dumbbell's gonna be held here, and my back is gonna be flat. And the thing I don't want you to forget is you need to take a big belly breath and support here. Keep your abs nice and tight while you do your rows, because you're gonna feel it in your core if you do that. So one thing I want to address before we get going on these is how I hold the dumbbell. Now, obviously you can grab a dumbbell just like this with your thumb over top the dumbbell. That's more than fine. What I do is I like to create kind of a hook with my hand and have the dumbbell sit in the hook like this. So my thumb is actually under the bar instead of over top the bar. I like that for a couple reasons. It takes a little bit of stress out of your forearm and up into your elbow. That's one. And then the other is you're gonna actually be able to pull more from your back and your elbow that way, as opposed to pulling from your hand. We don't wanna pull from the hand, we want the pull to come from back here. So try that. You just form a little kind of a cup with your hand, scoop the dumbbell up, and now it's hanging here. It's like you've created a hook. So try this grip the next time you try your single arm dumbbell row. Okay, so let's get started with the mistakes I see people make.
So the biggest mistake I see people make with a single arm dumbbell row is what I call the lawnmower. It looks like they're starting their lawnmower instead of rowing a dumbbell. They're using upper body momentum to actually move the dumbbell instead of isolating the back and making the back do the work. There's a lot of bouncing, there's a lot of rotating. We're not isolating the muscles that we're trying to work. We're using more momentum than anything else. To fix that, what I want you to do is to keep your body still, brace your abs like somebody's about to punch you in the gut. I want you to hold the dumbbell in your hand like your hand was a hook, and I want you to pull from the elbow back slightly towards your hip, and I want your elbow to come up only as high as your body line. That's it. Don't let your elbow come up too high. And then when you are at the top part of the motion, I want you to squeeze that shoulder blade nice and hard. The first variation you can do with the single arm dumbbell row is adding a pause at the top. You're going to hold and squeeze that shoulder blade for 2 to 3 seconds, keeping that elbow in line with your body. The next variation is a 1.5 single arm dumbbell row. Now what you're gonna do is row up to the top just like a regular dumbbell row, keeping your elbows in line with your body, and then you're gonna come halfway back down, then you're gonna go back up to the top position, keeping your elbow in line with your body again, and then you're gonna go all the way back down. That is 1.5 reps. Now what this does, it keeps your muscles under tension for a longer period of time, thus becoming way more challenging to do correctly. Do these fairly slow. Don't blast through these without control. Keep these controlled, slow, and steady. The constant tension variation is probably the most challenging variation of all because there's no resting at the bottom of the motion or the top of the motion. You are moving constantly between the bottom and the top with no resting at all until the very last rep. Now, what tends to happen with this one is that the shoulder starts creeping up towards the ear. So be aware of that and keep that shoulder back away from your ear. You're still going to want to pull that dumbbell back towards your hip, keeping that elbow in line with your body, but just stay in between the lowest part of the motion and the upper part of the motion, and you are going to feel this burn.
Okay, so that was a single arm dumbbell row with a couple of extra variations for you to try the next time you do this exercise. Give this a shot, try the different stance. If you've been putting your knee up on the bench, try it without, try some of the variations. This exercise is kind of the foundation. It's one of those foundational exercises that you can build upon and never really get tired of. It works. So add this to your repertoire if you don't already have it in there. I think you're gonna love these. This is one of my absolute favorite exercises on the planet. Give it a shot, try the variations, let us know how you like it. Leave us some comments below, and thank you so much for being here. If you ever have a tutorial you would like to see, please let me know because we will be happy to film it and help you out. So take care. Thank you so much for your support and for being here. Have a great day.